So folks, thank you for coming back. And I know that what we heard this morning in the first session was life-changing. I'm not only the pastor here, I happen to be the headmaster of the high school. And I can promise you, when you're involved in education, what we heard this morning, we see in action every day, the negative side of it. So if we can become proactive with social media, we will change the way our children learn, and we will save their lives. So this morning, I'm going to talk to you about the other side of what we heard, the practical side perhaps, the spiritual side of actually raising our children. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of depth, but there are some things that I believe we need to fundamentally understand. A lot of that is put aside in our very busy schedules and the way we are living today. Our children are a gift that God gives us, and we must appreciate that. And if you go and buy a new car, the first thing you look for is the owner's handbook on how to use all the gadgets in your car. At least that's the first thing I look for. And then often you hear people say when our children come, it's like they came without a manual. Not true. God gave us a manual. This is God's manual. It's His word. When God gave you a gift of a child, He supplied a workshop manual to go with it. We don't read it. And therefore, the wheels come off the children, they come off the family, and we wonder what's going on. So we as parents must understand that we are the prime educators of our children, not the school, not the community. As parents, when God gave us our children, we are accountable for their lives, for how they are raised and how they're educated. We are accountable for their spiritual side, their moral side, and the academic side. We are the prime educators. We've been taught for years that education is the responsibility of the school system. It is not. The school system is there in its real form to provide scaffolding to support you. But the prime educator, the one who's there to direct the life of the child, are the parents. And we can't dodge that bullet. So I want you to come. I'm going to read some scriptures for you today, and I'm going to read from the book of Proverbs, chapter 4. Hear, my children, the instruction of a father. Notice how dad comes into play here. And give attention to know understanding. For I will give you good doctrine, and do not forsake my law. He's speaking now about bringing the things of God to his child. When I was my father's son, and tender, and the only one in the sight of my mother, he also taught me, and said to me, let your heart retain my words, keep my commandments, and live. Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it spring the issues of life. The issues that affect a child's life will always come from what is deposited in their hearts through the screen, through the inputs they get. It forms their character, it forms their moral background. Those issues, when they are small, will direct them when they are older. And so it is essential that we make sure that we inculcate into our children's lives the very issues that the issues that we believe are fundamental to them becoming mature adults, and it starts when they're small. In the book of Proverbs, verse 22, it says this: train up a child when he is young. When they are older, they will not depart from it. Now, many people quote that verse without understanding the picture behind it. The Hebrew picture means to mold the palate of a child when they are young. So when they are old, their palate will be built in that along those lines. And the Hebrew mothers would literally take the food that they wanted their children to eat, and they would rub it on the palate of their children. So they would acquire a taste for the food that the mother wanted them to have. Maybe we should do that with peas and cabbage, I don't know. But anyway, you probably get your finger bitten off, but you're welcome to try it. But that's what it means. It means the parent must work on the palate of a child, but not just their taste palate, their moral palate. It says, parents, mold the moral palate of your child when they are young, so that when they are older, they won't depart from it. That we heard this morning, that the screen of our child, their hearts and their minds is blank. So who writes upon the moral palate of the child? How are we going to do it? Who do we allow to do it? You wonder why our children turn left so quickly, because someone else is driving the car, turning the steering wheel. Now I'm going to read to you from Psalm 1. It's a psalm that, when we understand it, it's very important, especially in raising our children. It says, blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the ungodly, screen time, nor stands in the path of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful, learning all the wrong attitudes. That his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night. Now he will be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, brings forth his fruit in his season, and whatever he does will not wither. Now, the most important word in those 3 verses is meditate. Transcendental meditation teaches you the wrong kind of meditation. It teaches you to blank out your mind and focus on nothing. Okay? I won't tell you the consequences of it, but that's not what meditation is. Biblical meditation means to chew the cud. That's what we understand in Africa. You see a cow standing underneath the tree, and its little jaw is going. What's he doing? He's swallowing grass, he's bringing it back up, he's chewing it. Doesn't sound that exciting when you think that milk is cow juice, but anyway, he's bringing it up, he's chewing it, he's swallowing it, until that cow has extracted all the nutrition from the grass. So meditation means literally to take a thought and to turn it over and over and over in your mind until you have assimilated what that thought is all about. It has become saturated or impregnated into your character. So we all meditate. Sometimes we meditate unwillingly. Have you ever been angry with somebody and you walk down the road and talk to yourself? Huh? When I get home, when you drive in your car, when I'm going to give the peace of my mind, how can I say that? Have this whole conversation. And what was a tiny little offense, by the time you get out the car, probably your husband or your wife, whatever it is, here comes World War III. You know why? We squeeze the juice out of that little anger until it's saturated us. And now we're ready to explode. So meditation is that. So when a child is on a screen and they're watching, they are meditating continuously on the words that they hear, the attitudes that they hear, the actions that they hear. They're meditating upon that until they're simulated as part of their character. So screen time is meditation time. Screen time is mold my child's character time. Screen time is write the moral values of whoever wrote those programs on the heart of my child. I'm not doing it. Meditation means that if we are going to raise our children on a godly platform, we have to make sure that the inputs that they get through our conversations, through the material they watch or listen to or read, is what we would like them to have, and eradicate everything else. All right. So, it says this in the Old Testament, and those words which I command you today shall be in your heart, and you will teach them diligently to your children. You will talk to them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. Now, what that means is that our children are educated through the personal relationships they have with their parents. You are prime educators. Our children are educated through the relationship they have with adults or people. So if you want your children to have your heart and to have your faith and to have your values, it says when you lie down, when you walk by the wayside, it means that in our daily lives, our children are involved and we are talking to them and we're imparting our values to them all the time. If we don't do that, as we heard this morning, we're too busy at work, we come home late, we're absorbed in our own lives, somebody else is going to do that. And now our children grow up and their lives are shipwrecked. We are to blame. Finished. End of story. Most, and I say this carefully, most of the dramas we have at the school is because of bad parenting. Parents are detached from their children. They have no idea what's going on. And now they blame the school, they blame society, but at the end of the day, we are the prime educators of our kids. Now, who's raising my child? Number one, it's the childminder. We go and we leave our children with the childminder. Now, that childminder is not part of our family, probably comes from another social group or another village or another part of Zimbabwe, but all day, that childminder is with your child. What is she doing? She's imparting to your child her values. And the child, because it's an authority and it absorbs everything that's written on the heart, beware of who the childminder is. Don't choose some nice lady that can just take care. Choose a lady that has a godly value, that is not going to impart things that are contrary to what you believe. The second issue, which you heard this morning, is the TV. The childminder gets busy, puts on the TV becomes the second childminder. The third one is the teacher. You had better know who the teacher is in your school. You had better. Because I don't know what happened when you were at school, but I know that my teachers, when I was at Hamilton, didn't just teach me maths and English. Forget. Maths and English were a small part of it. And then after that, we had discussions with the teacher about moral values and everything that was ungodly. And I happened to be part of a class of boys that were extremely ungodly. And so we would come to school on Monday, and the conversation on Monday was, what did you do that was bad on the weekend? And all the guys would be swapping their bad stories and trying to outdo each other. And their parents thought we were learning something. We were. We were learning how to be the most immoral class in the school. And that class was made a 5-year stream because they were so bad. What is your teacher teaching your child? Does your teacher have the moral values you want? And you have every right to investigate. Okay? Then the peers that they mix with, the peers of the children in class, who they play with, have a huge impact. Then the internet and the social media. Then the music they listen to. Beware. I'll say this just as a testimony. My one teenage boy went overseas and he came back with a pile of CDs that were basically banned in my house. I mean, I looked at them like impossible. But he came back and he said, Dad, overseas, these my friends listen to this, and so what you going to do about it? Kind of, here I am. Your first reaction is to take him and his CDs and deposit them outside the gate and say, there we are. So I thought, no, I'll lose the kid. So what we did, in the cover of the CDs, is a little piece of paper with all the words. I said, bring your CDs. And I listened to every single CD with the words. I made him read the words. Let's go through it. D, 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 D. Then I made him explain the words to me. Do you know what that means? Okay. Do you understand how painful it was to me to do that? We went through it. By 2 o'clock in the morning, we'd finished. And by 2 o'clock in the morning, he had thrown 50% of those CDs away himself. He said, Dad, I liked the beat. I didn't know what the words meant. Within 6 months, everyone had gone. You know why? I took time to go through so that he understood what the artists were trying to portray that were hidden behind the music that he didn't understand. That's your role as a parent. And then finally, the one that's going to raise my child is me. After the childminder, the TV, the teacher, the peers, the internet, the music, at the end of the train, the little caboose at the end of the train is mom and dad. All right? And the train, by the way, has left the station. So we've got to realize what we're fighting against. We've got to realize that we've got to wake up and get practically involved in our children's lives, or we are going to have a problem. Now, I'm just going to mention this so you get a little bit of an understanding of how our world has changed and what is out there. In 1860, they introduced into the education system the idea of evolution. When they introduced it, the guys who wrote the evolution nonsense actually said, now we know that Moses is dead. In other words, it's the theology of atheists. It was introduced to put an end to the Bible. Okay, there's no science behind it, but evolution came in and slowly became part of the education system. But it started to produce a chain reaction, and education began to change. In 1900, they introduced public education. Government ran the schools. Okay, until then, the churches ran the schools. When you got public education, it became a second authority in the student's life. The teachers became the authority and started to replace the parents. By 1970, we had the first real social rebellion against authority. Vietnam War. If you're going to San Francisco, be sure to wear some flowers in your hair. The hippie movement, my generation, we grew up with that. But it was a rebellion against authority. So first of all, rebellion against the Bible. Secondly, introduction of second authority. Now, a generation that's, let's kick out authority. But those things have never changed. Those little flows are still there. Okay? That's been in the 1970s. 1980s, we saw the breakdown of marriage. It accelerated to where we now have husband and wife being replaced with the term partner. But by the 1980s, that was becoming more and more commonplace. By 2000, we had the gay pride revolution. Gender removal, gender change is now commonplace. Okay? At the same time, artists have started to openly promote a satanic agenda in their music. So a lot of the music that children listen to is written by men, artists, who have actually gone and made a covenant with the devil, gone for extra power so they can sing the songs that they sing, and those lyrics are constantly being played, and your children are getting it in their subconscious. And then obviously, we've got to watch the movies that they watch, things like Harry Potter and stuff like that. Now, I'm just going to mention this with cartoons. In English culture, we teach our children fairy stories. Who has a book on fairy stories at home? Who was raised with fairy stories? Do you know what a fairy is? It's a tokolosh. It's an English familiar spirit. And it comes out of English culture, and it's their witchcraft in their heritage, and they call it a fairy. We are more honest, we call it a tokolosh. But anyway, they call it a fairy. So now when you go and you put your children in front of a cartoon, watch, because 90% of your cartoons have a little character floating in it that has wisdom, that comes and goes. It's not a human being, it's this little character. It's the introduction to a familiar spirit and the occult. It's teaching the children that if something appears in their bedroom at night, it's okay. You can contact the dead. You can contact these familiar spirits. They're going to help you. The basis of most of the cartoons is occultic. And we put our kids in front of it. I used to watch the cartoons with my children and say, watch that. We don't watch that one. Look at that. And I explain it to them. And when you understand it and you get involved in it, you are horrified at what is being written on the mind of your child through a fancy little picture with lots of color in it. Beware. It's dangerous. Okay? Now, the second thing I want to mention is that we are responsible for the discipling of our children. Not only their moral values, their spiritual values, the discipling of our children. It says in Romans, for by one man sin entered into the world, and so death by sin. We have to understand that our children are not born angels. They are born sinners. I know you think sometimes we have the most gorgeous little baby, but they have Adam is alive and well. Alive and well. I can promise you, we never taught our kids to lie. As soon as they could talk, what did they do? They lied. As soon as they could walk, they stole. I didn't give my kid a gun. Not going to have anything like that. As soon as he would go and play outside, he came in with a stick and went, "You're dead, Dad. All right, God, have all the guns you want. What can I do?" It's in them. So we are born with children. Our children are born with an Adamic nature, which means they have an appetite for worldliness. They are attracted to it, even as we are. They're attracted to anything that is sensual, like a bee to honey. They are attracted to it. Okay? So you have to be very careful what is going to feed that. Now, children imitate what they see or play with. If you give a child a dinosaur, he becomes a dinosaur. Watch him. A little baby, give him a dinosaur, suddenly, he's in there, 100%. If you give him one of these fancy fictional people, characters on TV, he becomes that. And that becomes how he wants to live. That's his interpretation of right and wrong. That's how he values dealing with a crisis. My little strong man, I'm just like him. You are laying a foundation on their palate of everything that is ungodly. Be careful the toys you give, the message that they have, what they watch, and who influences them. We are there to disciple our children so that they grow up with the right values, and it's not easy. Now, I'm going to go back to the scripture I read earlier, but I want to read it to you from Deuteronomy chapter 11. And I'm going to read here from verse 18. Therefore, it says, "You shall lay up these words of mine in your heart and in your soul, and bind them, on your hand." This is the law that he was speaking of, and as frontals. "And you will teach them to your children, speaking of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, when you rise up. You write them on your doorposts," and etc., etc. Okay? What is he saying? He's speaking about how we as parents are responsible to disciple our children so that they are going to become the kind of adults we would like them to be. And 100% of that responsibility is ours, no one else's. Now, I'm going to read you 2 verses from the New Testament. First one is in Ephesians, and it says, you fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the training and the admonition of the Lord." Training and admonition. Training means tutorial, education. Admonition means to call their attention to. Fathers, you are the one to make sure that you're the guardians of the house. You're the ones who are to make sure that the education they get and the things that you bring their attention to is primarily the responsibility of the father in the house. One of the biggest problems we have is absentee dads. He's in the house, but he's not there. They have a dad, but he's not present. He doesn't understand it. It's almost like it's not masculine to raise children. It's very masculine to raise children. They are my kids are my responsibility. No one else is going to steal my kids from me. You understand that? The role of the father to make sure that what goes into my child's life and what I bring the attention to is my responsibility. The second one is in Timothy when it's speaking about the qualifications of an elder, a pastor. It says, one who rules his own house well, having his children in submission with all reverence. For if a man does not know how to rule his own house, how will he take care of the church of God? In other words, if a man cannot raise his kids, how can he function elsewhere? How can I be the managing director of a business when I can't even take care of 2 children? That's a good question, isn't it? If you can't raise your children, how are you going to have the wisdom to run a business? Something has gone wrong. Very wrong. It starts at home. When I'm a good dad and I've got a good family and my home is in order, I'm far better equipped to do what I'm called to do, whether it's in the church or beyond. Now, we are talking about the spiritual values that children learn from our lives. I'm going to speak about communications. And I want to read to you from Hebrews chapter 4. And then I'm just going to expand it for 1 second. Hebrews chapter 4. Speaking of our high priest, it says, seeing then that we have a great high priest who has passed to the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold fast our confession. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in a time of need. So the Bible says that we have a high priest that in our weakness we can go and pray and talk to and find the grace to help us as adults in our time of need. Who is the spiritual leader of the home? The father. The spiritual leader of the home is the father. Who is the one the children must be able to go to with all their needs? The father. Dad is the one. If your child can't come to you and say, Dad, I am struggling with these things and I'm needing wisdom, I'm needing help, I'm needing guidance, where will your child go? The child will go to their peers, it'll go to the teacher, it'll go to the aunties, but they won't go to the father. So the counsel they're going to get is not what you want them to get. True? So we must get over this thing, men, that it's like you talk to your mother and then she'll come and talk to me. No. We are the spiritual leaders of our home. And if we want God to hear us when we open our heart to Him, we must open our heart to our children so they can come to us without reservation. In any subject. On any subject. They must come and talk to us about their lessons in school and what the teacher said to them. Do you like your teacher? What did she say? What about, are you being bullied? What happened? That's at junior school or even in high school. And as they become teenagers, let's talk about the most obvious thing. Who do you like? Most children can't discuss with their parents, can't come home and say, Mom, there's a boy in school. Oh, he is just gorgeous. How many sons can go to their dad and say, Dad, that chick, my goodness, she turns my heart on. Whoa! Without smoke coming out the parents' ears. Do our children have hormones? Did you have hormones? Or did you leave them behind somewhere? We all grew up with that. It's natural when they turn to teenagers to have eyes to see the opposite sex. If they can't talk to you, they don't have any wisdom, they're going to go somewhere else. Pull them in. Say, who is the enemy? I want to know who is the enemy. And talk to them. Let them discuss their feelings with you. It's normal. Direct them through it so they can understand. When they have a platform of bringing their lives to you, they're in a secure place. If they can't bring it to you, they go somewhere else and they're not secure. We must understand that the same way we want God to help us, we must have the same platform of transparency with our children in everything. That's good parenting. Now, in discipling our children, it is our responsibility to teach them, and I'm going to go through very simple things. Lying. What happens if your child lies? Nothing. Is it in your home? It must be that your child does not lie to you ever. Ever. And if they don't do their homework, you tell them, go and tell the teacher, I didn't do my homework. Don't write them a note to say, Johnny was sick and he couldn't do his homework. You were playing around. Right in the book, he was playing soccer. He did not do his homework. Go and get your beating. Yes. We have got to teach our children lying is not part of the equation. Because if they lie out there, they'll lie to you as well. Then they'll lie all over the place. So lying is gone. It must be inculcated. Cheating. Now, one of the things that we are very strict on, we're very strict on, my boys are big now, is respect for their mother. And I watch it all the time. I watch a generation now of young children who have no respect for their mothers. They're 3, 4 years old. And the mother says, don't do it, and they slap them. Bang, don't tell me what to do. I'm sorry, my rev counter goes, wee, right off the scale. It's because dad is not involved. My family understood one thing. The boys, not only did they never do that, they never raised their voice to their mother. Never. Not unless they wanted a lot of trouble coming down the railway track. They were taught the value of respect for their mother and respect for their future wives. So as a result, they're good husbands, good fathers, because they learned that from baby. Okay? And if they didn't, and I came home and mom said, listen, they gave me drama today, there was no question. We just went into the bedroom and discussed things in a manner that settled my heart. Not theirs. They must understand respect for older folk. They must. They must understand respect for authority. And I want to help you with one thing. When correcting a child, we must correct their attitude, not their actions. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little story. A little boy's playing outside and he kicks the ball through the window. Ka-chink. He's 8 years old. He did not intend to do that. He's just playing. Fix the window. Get him to help you fix the window. But if he's playing with the ball and you go outside and say, excuse me, take your ball over there. Go and play over there because you're going to put it through the window. And you walk around and ka-chink. Is that an action or an attitude? It's an attitude. That you correct because that's naked rebellion. So when we correct our children and they walk down the passage and slam the door, that's defiance. They're not just sulking, they're defying you. They're like, you're not going to tell me what to do? Ping! Really? Let's go and help until we clear the air. We don't do that again. Why? Because when we correct an attitude, we produce maturity. But if you let the attitude go, that child sits and festers on it. An action is one thing. An attitude is something else. And when you correct an attitude, they'll learn to say yes, sir, no, sir at school. They'll do their homework properly. They're not going to sulk. They're not going to scream and shout. We're going to have young people who are going to be controlled and, what can I say, solid members of society. It's when the attitude is not corrected that rebellion grows and grows properly. Okay. Then just to close, small things that we need to help our children with in the home. We heard about today how they would spend too much time in the house and don't go play outside. But there's more to it. Do they make their own beds? Oh, okay, let's rephrase that. At 1A, what age do they make their own beds? 19, no. They should be making their beds before they go to school. Do they clean their shoes? Do they wash the dishes at home? Do they help dad wash the car? Do they make their own lunch? How old are your children and you making lunch for them? I'm serious. Oh, I'm 14 and my mom didn't make me lunch. What? We had a very simple rule. I've forgotten, probably by the time they got to 10 or something. There's the bread, there's the butter, there's the jam. If you don't make lunch, you don't get lunch. Simple. We are not doing it for you from now on. I can promise you, after fasting one day at school, lunch was made every day. No drama. Okay? If you're a boy, you can't afford to go without lunch at break. They made it. But they learned responsibility. They learned to make their beds. They learned to do their lunch. In fact, by 10, they were riding to school in my days. So, and the big thing is, they must go to bed on time. They do not tell you when they go to bed. Okay? They must go to bed on time. They need 8 hours sleep if they're going to go to school. 8 hours without a phone, without a tablet, without playing with the dog. They are going to bed. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, done, gone. Because if they don't, they get a problem called sleep depravity. And that starts to stunt their growth. It stunts their learning. It stunts, forget the screen time. That alone starts to stunt their ability to concentrate the next day at school. So whatever they're telling you, it's not a case of they decide and they argue with you. It's a case of this is your cutoff time. Your homework will be done by then. And now you're going to bed. Good night. Light out, door closed. Why? Because you need to get 8 hours proper sleep. Don't turn it around and say, I want my child to study until 10, 11 o'clock so they can do better at school. They're going to fall off the pony the next day. Give them that 8 hours, let their body heal itself, let it refresh itself, and let them come to school in the right frame of mind. So those are just some of the little issues I wanted to highlight. We're not going to have time to go a bit deeper, but just so that you have, can I say, you can look at it and think, okay, things in my home that maybe I need to pay attention to. The biggest thing is, children are my responsibility. They're my children. God gave me the rule book to raise them. I'm going to raise them according to His word, according to what He instructs me to. And when we get that right, you'll see how quickly. I want to finish with this saying. Most of us are terrified of the idea of having teenagers. All the parents they're 8, 9, 10, they're okay. We can't, what will we do with their teenagers? And parents that have teenagers wear body armor. What are we going to do? It's war zone. Our best years with our children were the teenage years. Our years of least drama, the years of most fun, the years of our greatest interaction, we loved our teenage years. Why? Because we had built the house when they were small. By the time they became teenagers, we're dealing with them as adults. We're talking, we're integrated, we're involved, and we're moving together. We had fun together. Our teenage years of all our kids were the best years we ever had. Teenage years don't have to be a drama. You are raising young adults now. You're raising people to become mature. You have an interaction with them, an openness, a transparency. They are different to when they were small. I understand that. But I can promise you, teenage years do not have to be feared. They can become the most constructive years of your children's lives. Amen. Oh, by the way, okay. So there we go. If you have any questions, Tuli will answer them. He's got lots of experience. If you have a question, we will answer it generally because obviously we can't hit things specifically, but let's do our best. We did promise you. And by the way, after this session, make sure we are giving you a handout, a little paper, a little pamphlet on the dangers of vaping. So the scientific dangers of vaping. All right, it's a modern thing that children do. Sometimes I see parents don't. But it's not allowed in the schools, it's a drug. But we want you to become aware of what it's all about. So we're giving you the brochures as a free handout to take home and read afterwards. All right. So, any questions? Apart from, please release me, let me go. All right. So, folks, thank you. God bless you. Thank you for being with us. We really appreciate your time. Thank you for putting your children into our trust. We really appreciate that as well. We want to be a family, raise the children together, and build strong homes. So there we go. Have a great weekend, and God bless you.